Welcome back to Stacy So and So. Thank you for being here again this week. I hope you've had a fabulous week. Now, if you follow my account and you saw my shorts, you know we just got back from Tennessee and now I am back in my sewing room and ready to get back to work. And today's project is going to be making my Practical Magic inspired skirt. For those who either don't remember after seeing my shorts or haven't seen it yet, this is the fabric that I found. I love, and I can't wait to wear the skirt. This is from, it's a business on Etsy called Fabulace. And I will include a link to their account in the description in case you want to browse and find some great fabric. I believe they're in California, and I live in West Virginia, and I was amazed at how quickly they processed my order and got it shipped to me. So definitely a good company to work with. Now, those who remember, this was the skirt that I decided to make after putting out and asking everyone. You know, I had an A and a B to choose, and this was the overwhelming decision on which skirt I should make. However, what I discovered after reading the instructions on the back and pulling out the pattern piece, although I had never made the skirt, I apparently had intentions to. So I had cut out what would have been considered a size 10, and that was many years ago because this skirt is from, I would have bought it in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm definitely not the same size anymore. So 2 weeks ago, I worked with my mom and I pulled out the pattern piece and we did some measurements and we figured out exactly how much I'm going to have to add to the skirt to make it fit me now. And so I'm going to show you a process today that we both agreed upon would be the easiest for me. She knows me well. She knows I'm a very visual person. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to be cutting this pattern in half and adding the additional inches down the center. I will show you the process of doing that. Now, is this the best way or the only way to do it? Absolutely not. But it's the best way for me and other people like me who see things visually. I know I probably could have cut the pattern in half and laid it on the fold and added some additional inches, and that may have worked. But what I wanted to make sure of is that I adjust the pattern fully first and then measure it up to my body to ensure that it is big enough and that I have added enough of a seam allowance so that when I cut into that fabric, I haven't made an oopsie. The second option was going to be laying out the pattern and then adding the additional inches on either side and literally like having to take time to sketch around the edge and making sure that, again, I had enough on either side. Yes, again, I could have folded it in half and only done on one side, cut into the fabric, but what if it didn't work? So we've decided, Mom and I decided, and you know, we're talking about, you know, my mom has been sewing since she was, I'm not gonna tell you how old she is, but you have an idea of how old I am. My mom's been sewing since she was a young girl. She started sewing aprons with my mom, or my grandma, her mom, when she was young, and she started sewing clothes for herself in high school because of, you know, home ec, which they still need to teach that class. But so she's very good about, you know, being able to adjust and fit things, and especially to my body. And she's really good, you know, I think she's really good at is holding me accountable to trusting the measurements, double checking the measurements, and not assuming that what I see in the mirror isn't true. Because I have a bad habit, as you guys know, of measuring myself in the pattern and going, well, I better make it a little bit bigger, just in case. I know many of us are like that. So if you are interested in learning how to expand this pattern, which I have found places online where you can still purchase it, I will include those in the description as well. Stick around and follow me. And if you get a chance, subscribe to my channel, because I'd love to have you a part of the community. And just stick around and I will show you the process that I'm going to go through to make this skirt work. Fingers crossed. Okay, so as you can see, I press my pattern. It looks much nicer. And then I cut it right up the fold, because I folded it in half, measured up both sides, and pressed it. So I cut straight up that fold. Now what I'm going to do is take my tissue paper, because what I need to do is add a 4-inch piece in the center. So I'm going to piece together some pieces of tissue paper and then add that from the very top through the bottom, so that I have an additional 4 inches. And then we'll move on. Okay, so I cut my 4-inch piece and I'm starting to tape it down the side. I will do the same on this side. Then I will measure the pattern to me again, just to be 100% sure that it's going to fit. Now I know there are many of you, or at least a few of you, who are going to go, oh my God, she's scotch taping a pattern. I understand the long-term problems of scotch tape, but this is the solution for this pattern for now. Will someone 30 or 40 years ago find this after I'm long gone and be cursing me for using scotch tape? Probably. But this is the solution for now, so that I can have the skirt that I want. So those of you who are anti-scotch tape, I apologize. Okay, so I got the panel piece put down the center, and as you can see, it is going to fit much better. Now the length, it comes down to my ankle, which I think is going to be about right, because most of the skirts they wear in Practical Magic are usually pretty long. And if this isn't wide enough for walking, then I will add a slit, like maybe from here down to the back, just to make it easier. Okay, now we are ready to start making the skirt. Okay, so normally I would fold, the long way of your fabric, where you have selvages folded together and a fold on one side. However, the bottom of the skirt was too wide. After adding this panel, it was too wide at the bottom for me to do that. So I thought maybe I would just cut, because you only cut 2 pieces. You cut this twice. That's the front, the back, that's it. But instead of having to cut this twice, I just folded it the other direction. So the fold is way down there. And fortunately, I have plenty of fabric, so I don't have to worry about it. So moving on, we're going to cut this out. And then all we have to do is sew it down the seams, try it on, see if there's any adjustments, decide if we want to put a slit in the bottom just to make it easier to walk, and then sew a channel across the top of here and put in some narrow elastic. And that's it. I think doing the pattern took more time than it's going to be to put the skirt together. Okay, so I got it all cut out and pinned together, and I pinned it right sides together as you would normally do. And then I very carefully slid this up. I just want to make sure that it would fit over my hips, and it does. No problem. But because I do have the extra room, and being that this fabric really has a tendency to fray, I think I am going to actually unpin it and then pin wrong sides together so that I can do a French seam. Which, if you are new to sewing and you don't know what a French seam is, I will go ahead and make sure that I include that in the video, because I think that will I think that's going to be safer for the long run, because I see myself wearing this skirt for a really long time. Okay, so we are definitely going to do French seams. So if you've never done this before, It's not difficult by any means, but you will need to make sure that you have enough of a seam allowance that once you put your fabric, like I have it, with wrong sides together, which is different than, we normally do. We usually put right sides together, but you're going to put wrong sides together first. Then pin down the side. Once you seam down where you need to, give it a little bit of a trim. Then you're going to turn it inside out and seam over the area again, which I will show you. So first things first, take your garment, put wrong sides together, take your pins, pin together, and sew them together. Word of advice: if you've never done this before, whether you're a new sewer or someone who's been sewing for a long time but you've never done French seams, start with a simple garment like this where you don't have a lot of detail. This is going to be doing just simple straight lines, so it's a great opportunity to try this out. Like I said, whether you are a new sewer or if you are someone who's been sewing for many years but you've just never tried a French seam. Okay, so let's get pinning. Okay, so I have seamed up either side. It's probably hard to tell, but I did a very rose stitches very close to the edge. So now I'm going to turn it inside out. And I'm going to line it up. And before I pin, I will do a press. So you're going to, oh, there we go. You can see how it's sewn together. You can see the seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it out flat. And what I will do, once I have that seam nice and flat, is I'm going to go ahead and pin it so everything stays in place. This material is particularly slippery. So I'll pin all along the edge, and then I will sew very close to where I did before, and it'll be it's what they call a French seam, and it will encase all of the raw edges from the first seam that I did. So I'm going to pull up my iron, give it a press, and then stitch down either side, and they'll be ready to move on to the waistband and hemming. Okay, so now the seams are done, and I'll show you what it looks like. So here's the seam from the outside of the skirt. As you can see, on the inside, this is what you have. And all of those raw edges are completely encased. So you never have to worry about any kind of fraying, loose threads, things like that. So next step, I'm going to give this a very narrow hem at the top, and then make my casing to put the elastic in and give it a hem. So the next time you see me, I'll be ready to try it on. Okay, so I'm really happy with the way this skirt turned out, and I feel like it actually looks good on me. Like I said before, I don't normally wear skirts because I just don't feel like they fit me right. They just don't look right. But I really do like this one. So I'm going to include some pictures right at the end of this video so you can see how it turned out. I will include some links in the description below I have actually found uncut versions of this pattern still available. So I will include links for that. And I will also include links for the place where I purchased the fabric on Etsy in case you want to browse around to see what other kinds of fabric they have, or if they still have some of that fabric. I'm sure they probably do. Also, if you're watching, thank you so much for helping me to come up with a plan and to fit this pattern to me so that I could make it. I'm definitely going to make another one. I love it. And I might even I'm thinking of also making like a little tank or cami to go with it. So of the same fabric, because I do have plenty left over. And that way I could, if I built it, it'll look like a dress. So it'll kind of like open up some more options. So if I do that, I will certainly do a video about it, let you guys know. Sorry about the camera. That was Ernie. Thanks, Ernie. He just doesn't understand, has no spatial awareness. That's all I can say. So thank you guys for joining me again this week. I will be back in next week with a new video. I hope that if you're new here that you'll take a moment to like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment. Love for you to be a part of our sewing community. So anyway, I will see you next week, and until then, happy sewing.